The first time we did our new build, it was on the market. We were in here for 2 weeks, fiddling around, putting upgrades in that weren't even necessary.
Yeah.
And we look back and we were like, why are we wasting so much time for this when it's just going to be a rental property? So now we've got it down to 1, maybe 2 days max. That's all we need to do to get ready for the property.
Well, what is up, you guys? Matt McKeever here with Mike Richter from Double E Properties. And so Mike's going to be schooling me today on the process behind new builds, because I know nothing about new builds. Almost all my properties are over 100 years old, so brand new stuff, completely outside my comfort zone. So do you mind kind of breaking down for us, Mike, just why the strategy and maybe some differences the strategy uses versus like the strategies my audience with the Burr investment strategy would be more familiar with? So
yeah, well, one of the big reasons why we use this strategy is our lifestyle. I mean, I'm a dad. I've got a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old at home. I don't have time to do all the construction, deal with trades, deal with everybody else. So we got into this originally when Jen just got pregnant, and we like the hands-off approach. Like, we basically, all it is really, I mean, when it comes down to it, is I'm signing a check to the builder. I've got a closing period where I have to make closing installments on that property. The next step is you design the property. We use our own interior designer. After that, I mean, it's basically just put the money down, wait for the property to get built. That's all it is, right? And then you've got, I mean, coming up to that, you got to get your financing in order, but you've got a pre-delivery inspection just before it closes. Well, before that, you've got a frame walk where you go around to the builder, make sure all of your upgrades are in. So I can do that. And any problems that come up in the pre-delivery inspection or the frame walk, I basically just write them down. The builder, the representatives write them down, and they take care of it. So it's hands off. The work for us has been really, really minimal in this. And our whole idea and philosophy behind investing is delegate as much as you can and as much as you comfortably can, so we can live our lives and have our lifestyle and do what we want to do and travel and spend time as a family and have other people pick up the construction on this. So everything you've seen here, any defects, I mean, you know what, we've got a warranty. We've got a 1-year warranty, we've got the 3-year warranty, and then we've got like a massive 5-year warranty against any issues. So anything that does arise to this, it's really just, or if there's tenants in here, they can call the builder faster than I can in an emergency.
Yeah.
And I can call them, email them, and they're great. They just come, they schedule someone to come in, and it's taken care of. So it's real estate can be overwhelming, but the way we've done it, it's very, very passive for us in a sense. I mean, we can almost call it that at this point because we're in 7 properties. We know how the process works. So we're able to communicate very efficiently, and it's a strategy that just works for us right now.
Yeah. So do you mind? I know nothing about trying to finance a new build. So can you break it down for me, kind of what that process looks like? So when you initially, so first of all, you're in a highly competitive environment, right? As far as trying to buy these new builds. So maybe even before we get into the financing, just break down for me that whole process. So like, you're literally getting like a ticket, standing in line, racing to buy, like what happens?
So what we did, I mean, it was kind of spontaneous the way we did the first few, because I had a friend, he was in line, and he basically called me and said, hey Mike, and this is why it's always good, tell people what you do. People need to know that you invest. Get the name out there. And if I didn't talk to him about investing, and if I didn't tell other people what my dream, what my vision is, he wouldn't have called me. And he goes, Mike, I'm in line, I'm buying an investment property for myself. He's like, you wanted to do this too. And then again, he's holding me accountable to my goals, right? Get in line. My girlfriend at the time, she basically put your wife's name on there. You guys have to come out, buy the property. And there's a lineup, because in Milton at the time, and it's still like this too, when a builder releases, everybody wants to buy, because everybody wants to live in Milton. Everybody loves these products. It's very, very competitive for us to get into this, to what we're doing. So we had to basically get a ticket in line on Friday. We had to run to that position, if it wasn't our friend picking it up, get your ticket, go the next morning, line up with your ticket, and there was hundreds of people behind me after I got my ticket to buy. So if you're not at the front, you're going to miss out. And if you miss that weekend, the prices just keep going up and going up, right? So we get in, we get the property, and you have to make your mind up the next day on the property. And you have to come in, and it's a binding agreement. Like, you can't back out of that. So you really have to have your numbers in order before we go in. I didn't at the time. The first property I bought, I didn't have my numbers in order. All I knew is that I already had 1 rental, and the numbers worked for us. So how you go down, there's a deposit structure. It's usually, you put your deposit down on the day of when you purchase, 1 deposit, and then the deposit structure works over about a 120-day period, where it's divided over 120 days, the rest of the deposit. The deposit is roughly 10% of the purchase price of the house.
Okay.
So you have some time to come up with that money and do that. The rest of the down payment is due upon receival of the property, when you close in the property. That's when you have to come up with the down payment and the deposit. But usually that's anywhere from 6 months to a year and a half, and there's almost always delays in what we've bought. So you do have a lot of time.
And so how does that financing work? Like, are you qualifying when you initially get the deposit, or do you have to qualify like 6 months out from actually closing?
You do have, you have to go in. Nowadays what they want is they want a pre-qualification letter just to purchase that property, but that's just pre-qualification.
Yeah.
We'll go in there with that letter, and that's easy to get. I mean, anybody can get a broker to really sign them a letter saying, okay, they can approve for this. But what it comes down to, you have to qualify, and with an A lender, you have 120 days that you have to qualify within closing. A B lender or an alternate lender, it's about 90 days that you have to qualify for closing. You have to know where your numbers are. And I might not, one of the things what's made us successful in this is that if I'm buying a resale today, I might not be able to qualify to close in that property today or within 2 or 3 months of purchasing it. But if I buy a property that closes a year to a year and a half, 2 years down the road, I know that I have a year and a half to come up with a deposit, get my numbers to conform with what I need to close working with the right lender. And I know that I have a year and a half to plan for what I need to close in that property, the money and the credit to close in that property. And we've always used that sort of as a plan. We've bought properties before we could afford to close and before we had the full deposit, but we've used resources to help us purchase the property and then close on them in between. And a lot of planning. We used a lot of planning in between that.
And so we don't need to get too deep into this, but I'm curious, I'm sure a lot of my audience members will have questions. So what happens if, like, say the market drastically changes between that pre-qualification letter and like when you're actually firming up your financing? Like,
well, you have to be ready for that, because that is a very good question. The bank is going to lend you on the market value of that property. They're not going to lend you, it doesn't matter what you spent on the property, they're going to lend you on market value. In the past, the properties have always gone up in value, so we've been well within the money and it's been no problem to get financing. When we purchased our 2 properties, it was about a year and a half ago, we purchased 2 properties in Guelph. The market did take a dip, and then now it has started to come back up, and there were delays. There were delays about a year. We had the cash resources in our other properties to say, okay, if there's a shortfall, the bank is only going to lend you on the appraised value. And the appraised value works on what's on the resale on the market and also what the builder's releasing the properties for. So if it's undervalued, they won't lend you more money than it's worth. So you have to come up with the shortfall, and you're in a binding agreement. If you walk away from that property and if you can't close, the builder is now going to hold you liable and can potentially sue you for the difference in price drop. So you have to be prepared for that. If the rents drop for whatever reason, if the market becomes saturated, if something happens and the rents are undervalued, you have to be able to pick up that shortfall. So one of the things we always do is we always make sure we buy properties that are under market value, and that's why we like buying new. New typically is about 10% usually under market value because it's a brand new product and there's that lag time. There's that period of closing. It's a year to year and a half. So you're getting the builder has to release it at more of a discount in order to get people, incentivize them to buy it and wait a year and a half versus the property they can basically move into and turn the key. So it's just a lot of it's preparation. One of the things Jen and I, my wife, do is we say, what's the worst case that'll happen? And if the property does drop, and maybe if it drastically drops and we can't come up with the money, we've made contacts, we have private lending, we have B lending money, so we have enough relationships with lenders now that we've met through networking to weather that storm out. But we look at it as, okay, if we have to use private money, we'll do that. But we're looking at this long term, and we're looking at this at long-term time horizons. And that's just something that could happen in the short. You just have to be prepared for anything that can happen to mitigate that risk.
So another thing that I know absolutely nothing about is warranties. And so you mentioned there's kind of like a couple usually when you're buying a new build. So can you walk us through high level that process?
Sure. So you're always going to get a warranty. Like, you're going to get your pre-delivery inspection, which is great. Like, I can walk through this house and pull out any defects and come up with a list, and those are really solved. The pre-delivery inspection is your first sort of level that you want to take care of, and that's about a week before closing. And the builder within that week will bring everything up to standards that you're not happy with. That's the great part. So I can basically walk into the product and it's turnkey. Then after that, you have your 30-day warranty, and that's anything you've basically missed in the pre-delivery inspection, because it's hard. You're coming through, you're excited about the property. There's a lot. I'm not seeing things. Once you move in, I would say my tenants are my best allies in that, because they want to live in a property. And I'll turn it around and say, I know you guys want a great property. I want to make sure this is, perfect to your standards. They're living in there. Can you guys identify and itemize any problems that you see in this? And I want to get them all cleaned up for them, but also for me. I want to have a property that's in premium shape, so I have less work on the back end once they leave. So you have the 30-day, then you have your 1 year. The 1 year isn't going to cover all the little nicks and damages and deficiencies. It's going to cover bigger things. It's going to cover distribution systems. It's going to cover, heating, roofs, water penetration, things that are shifting. You're going to get cracks in your wall. It'll cover things like the big ticket items that that are really the real serious ones, right? Then after that, you have a 3-year warranty, and that's against water coming in, the heating, the plumbing. Something happens in there, you're taken care of. And that's going to be the stuff that's going to cost you a lot of money. They're not going to care. You can't cover nicks and wear and tear or anything like that. But those are the items that are really going to cost you a lot of money if you don't catch them. So it's good along the way. Take response. I come in here and I look for what's going on in the house. Is there water coming through? Is there a pipe that's leaking? Is there anything? Is there wind coming through? Are the doors or the windows misaligned where they're not closing properly? You have to be very vigilant of these things and do your inspections, not just to check up on your tenants, but actually do these inspections to make sure that you're on top of them, so it's not money out of your pocket. And then there's the 5-year, and that covers, major structural issues. If there's a foundation leak, if the house starts to shift, or if there's things start to move around improperly, there's something major, basically. That's going to be the big problem. That's going to basically wipe out any cash flow for years. That's the stuff. Foundations not working properly. That's the stuff that you're going to want to catch and make sure that. And if for any of these issues, if you don't know how a house is built, if you don't have a construction background, a trade background, for what it's worth, bring somebody with you who does, or for the 30-day or the 1 year, especially the 1 year, things have had a chance to settle, pay a home inspector for what it's worth. And it's not just, I don't look at that as, I wouldn't suggest that it's just money to your pocket, but I look at that as, if you miss something and it's something big after 1 year, that can cost you a lot of money. And a home inspector or someone who has experience in the trades is going to know what to look for. And they're going to be honed in on not just how fancy or pretty the house looks, but they're going to be honed in on what problems to look for. And I always suggest that, because there's telltale signs when problems do occur.
And so as far as actually making good on these warranties, have you had to file claims on these warranties? And so that goes smoothly enough? Or?
It doesn't go smoothly. No, it doesn't go smoothly, because then again, you still have to be, you still have to have that certain persona. Trades dealing with warranty, they're employees, they're not based on commission. It's not like people of your power team who get paid on the results. My agent gets paid based on what he does, or a fee, or a lawyer. They're employees, so a lot of it's back and forth. They'll do a job and they don't do it up to your standards, or they I'll have a list of 10 things and they do 8, but the 2 things they wanted to do were the hardest things, and the guy wanted to skip out or didn't show up that day. So it hasn't been a great experience dealing with the warranty team, but it's gotten done. So you're still pulling teeth. You got guys who come in, they've got different levels of experience. That's at times, it's made us want to pull our hair out, because we're dealing with all kinds of different people, and the warranty, there's certain things they just don't want to cover, and you really got to challenge them on certain things. That hasn't been the greatest experience. But I always look at this as, what's the upside? We've got 99% of it's done correctly. We've got, great tenants. We've got a great property. It's brand new. If I have to, deal with some problems, that's all part of real estate investing. And I look back and I'm like, yeah, we had problems with tenants. Sure, we had problems with the warranty team and the construction team and everything else, but we're still, in my day job, I deal with, problems all the time. I deal with, when I was working and, running sites and working in the trades, I was constantly dealing with that anyway. At least this time when I deal with problems, it's for my own business. It's for my own portfolio. And I look back and say, 10 years from now, having problems with the warranty team for tenants, is it really going to matter? No, because I'm looking at what I've made, what this has brought me, the lifestyle, the equity, the appreciation. So I always look at the big picture and say, hey, you know what? If there is a problem, or if there is something that's not dealt with properly, I always like to take responsibility and own that and say, okay, where did I not communicate properly? Where was I not clear enough? How can I better systemize this and optimize this so we catch it sooner, or I hold people to faster accountability? So a lot of the times when there are properties, new builds, it really comes down to just what can I do better and how can I better communicate this and do it more efficiently. That's what I've seen with my experience going back and looking back at what we've done.
No,
it gets better. Yeah,
that's great feedback and great advice because I've never done anything like this. So maybe before we wrap up, just as far as like actual closing process, what's that like? Is it similar? Like, you're still going in, you know, a week or two before closing, signing the paperwork with your lawyers? Yeah,
it's fairly straightforward. I mean, remember the builder, I mean, it's not like us doing renovations and doing everything ourselves. I mean, it's gotten easier and easier. I mean, we do our pre-delivery inspection, we walk around, we create a list, we take care of it. One thing we do is we have cleaners on staff. So we get the cleaners and our cleaning crew to clean up to a standard, and that's very important because we're renting this. We want to attract the best tenants to a standard that we like to do. But other than that, it's just a matter of basically going to the bank, getting a bank draft, submitting that to your lawyer, and then signing. I mean, there's a million signatures involved. Right, and we've did that. One of the times we had to do it, it was last minute. We had to take the girls, and the girls are hanging off of us, and it was crazy. And I'm looking at this, and I'm like, it's just always the same signatures. There's a lot of signing to do, and there's a lot of paper. It's like any closing. There's different articles and agendas, but if you get a lawyer that's very experienced in that, he'll be able to walk you through it, and he'll understand it a lot smoother. It's really not that bad closing on it. And a lot of the things when it comes to closing, depending on what you want to do, we're already pre-marketing this property on our social media. So a lot of the leads we've gotten for our property, some of them, we didn't even need to use an agent. We didn't even need to list the property because we've gotten referrals. People know what we do. So, hey, my neighbor this, or I've known someone or this, or my friend needs a place to stay. So using our warm market, we've sometimes sealed the deal where we don't need to put this on MLS. But if you do put it on MLS, I always suggest talk to your agent in advance. Maybe, you can't really get access to the house properly before closing, but have a date. Say, okay, we give ourselves maybe 2 days, right? So in 1 day, if I want to do any upgrades, I'll allow myself 1 day for that, 1 day for cleaning. Maybe the second day, the agent's he's already scheduled that to do his videos, do his pictures, put it up online. So everything is very, very process and driven in a timely fashion, where we don't want any more vacancy on the market than we need to. The first time we did our new build, it was on the market. We were in here for 2 weeks, fiddling around, putting upgrades in that weren't even necessary. And we look back and we were like, why are we wasting so much time for this when it's just going to be a rental property? So now we've got it down to 1, maybe 2 days max. That's all we need to do to get ready for the property. Awesome. Yeah, so it's very efficient.
Awesome. Well, I definitely learned a lot from this video. If you guys learned a lot from this video, smash that like button, hit the subscribe button if you're new to my channel, and otherwise, where's the best way for people to reach out?
Yeah, so the best way, I've got a YouTube channel too. It's Double E Properties. We're also on Instagram and Facebook under Double E Properties, or just, email me. We love to get in contact people. We love to share stories. We're always educating people. So if you want to get in contact us, it's doubleeproperties@gmail.ca. So I hope you guys like this, and get in contact, and we'd love to hear from you. Take care.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. We'll see you in the next video. Bye.